So usually the first few things that I say get cut off in the playback, and yesterday at the very end it got cut off, so it ended on an okay note, but it was there was a few minutes of me going on at the end that we did lose. Um, so, as I've been doing each day, I kind of go and review the video and playback, and I see what I said wrong and I try to correct it. Live, sometimes I get a little nervous. I think I'm getting a little more comfortable with it now. And sometimes the thoughts I haven't actually articulated out loud. So, like yesterday, we ended on the Venus moon stuff, so I'm going to start with that right now, cleaning that up a bit, because the way it came off, it almost sounded like I was insulting people with their Venus in Virgo. So we're going to kind of clarify that and clean it up a bit. But I was talking about this NBA player and his wife that everybody's talking about right now, and all the influencers on YouTube that give relationship advice have commented on. And I don't know her name, but I did just look for his really quick, and it was the NBA player Joe Smith. So if you watched yesterday and you didn't know what I was talking about, hey, I9 Bash. Today we're just going to kind of go over finishing off with the Venus moon stuff that I was talking about yesterday. I'm going to go a little bit into Venus and Mars with children and parents, like how I've seen it. I have notes here. And I want to kind of get into the 27 club, and then we're going to talk about part 2 of the Love at First Sight video. So if you didn't see, so today is just kind of like a recap, going over a few different bullet points. Nothing, I didn't even put a topic at the top, did I? So I had something last night. I didn't sleep well first of all, I woke up this morning really, and like there was something screeching outside, squealing. So, oh great, I'm glad. Okay, so I'm glad that you're ready. So anyways, I was talking about Joe Smith was the NBA player yesterday, where I was talking about his wife did Plenty of Fish, and it was this big scandal, but I said Plenty of Fish, and I meant she did OnlyFans. And she did this radio interview where she was saying she even had set him up in OnlyFans because he doesn't think very much, and his first wife, that's why she got so much money from him. And so she kind of publicly humiliated her husband, this NBA player. So a lot of, again, relationship coaches and influencers are talking about it. Did she do Plenty of Fish also? Yesterday I said Plenty of Fish, but I think the scandal is she had an OnlyFans account that he didn't know about for a year or something. So that's what I was talking about yesterday. So if you guys don't know what I was talking about, or you want to go look up what's going on with them, that's what it is. It's Joe Smith and his wife. He was a former basketball. So you could just type in like Joe Smith, basketball player, wife scandal, and you'll find it. So yesterday when I was at the end, I was talking about, I went on this rant about Venus is exalted in Pisces and is at detriment in Virgo. And that doesn't mean that so I want to go kind of into men and women with each of this, because I started it with male Venus and Pisces. I said men whose Venus is in Pisces will end up with a beautiful woman inside and out. So I was thinking about this last night. I had something to say about men with Venus in Virgo in this. So if a man's Venus, because Venus again is superficiality, money, the ideal woman, right? So if a man's Venus is in like Libra or Leo, there was another sign I thought of too as I was just going over this in my head, but maybe a more superficial sign, or a sign that's more about looks and likes to impress, right? Or I'm not calling anybody superficial. I'm using that as like layers, right? Because we have our surface level, and that's just as important, but you need depth too, right? So, anyways, a Venus in Virgo man is going to he's not going to go for the superficial qualities that you see in, like, maybe, I don't even know, I haven't seen this actually, but let's just say for an example, like a Venus in Leo man, a man with his Venus in Leo. Actually, I did date one of the ones I've been rambling about, whose sun is in Virgo at 10 degrees, that one, his Venus is in Leo. he actually has very interesting taste with his sun in Virgo. He kind of likes androgynous women. He likes short hair and like small chests, but he is very wealthy, and he does like usually date women with a lot of money and stuff, and looks, and status are important, even though status is kind of Capricorn too. So he's just okay. So this Venus and Leo guy that I'm talking about, which I didn't even think to use him as an example, he's very well off, or let's say his family is. So he just like most of the women that he dates are rich. That's why like I'm not particularly rich. So when I dated him, it was kind of challenging because he's very spoiled and he's used to being with women that their parents take care of everything too, like him. So me being someone who works hard for my money and has a strong work ethic and ambition, it didn't really jive very well. And I'm not saying that's because Venus is in Leo, but maybe Venus in Leo might have an easy, I don't know, Venus in Pisces could. Anyways, I'm getting off on a side note. So what I'm trying to say is, without like insulting anyone, is that Venus and Virgo women, again, are very hot and very sensual, and like Venus and Virgo and the earth signs are more about money, right? That's Pentacles in the tarot. So if a man's like, I want to marry for love, I want a woman that loves me, and it's not just for my money, right? I don't want a gold digger. Unless his Venus is like in Pisces or in Cancer or something, where he's going to recognize a woman whose Venus is in Pisces, like if his Venus is in one of the water signs, or even maybe in Capricorn, Venus in Capricorn could maybe recognize this, or Taurus, but because Venus and Virgo is in opposition to Pisces, this is sort of this axis we were talking about yesterday, and I just want to clarify so I'm not sounding like I'm bashing on Venus and Virgo, like I told you guys, I like them, but Venus in Pisces value is like guy that wants to marry for unconditional love and wants to be, a woman that loves him unconditionally is going to look right over a Venus in Pisces, because he's going to think she's weak and soft, and you shouldn't just love. I actually had Venus and Virgo say this to me, like, you shouldn't just love someone unconditionally, like there has to be conditions, which is Virgo. It's like practical every day, right? So it's this funny thing where we all want love, but then you'll go for the more tangible, solid things that aren't so much about unconditional love. They're more about money and practicality. So it's what I was trying to say with Venus in Virgo and Venus in Pisces is one's very practical and pragmatic, also very rewarding and sensual, and the other one is much more like the things you can't see and touch, and it's ideal that once you get to know it and you see their flaws, kind of doesn't look so ideal, so then you feel like it's an illusion, because that's very 12th house Piscean energy, right? So you're like, oh, this is the most perfect woman I've ever met. She's beautiful inside and out. And then you get to know her, and she's got other placements in her chart. Like me, I'm an Aries. I can be quite aggressive. Like, people don't see that right at first with Venus in the chart. So they're like, whoa, Anyways, so what I was trying to say in a very tactful way yesterday is that if I don't know how to put this like in a very tactful way. Some men, like Venus in Sagittarius, I don't even know if that's why, but like my ex-husband whose Venus is in Sagittarius, he's very much this way. He doesn't date based on looks or superficiality. He's very clear about that. I don't know if it's because of his Venus in Sagittarius. I'll read all this again in a second. I just don't want to lose my train of thought. Oh wait, I love your energy. What is your Mercury and Jupiter? My Mercury is Pisces and my Jupiter is Aries. I found Venus in Virgo gives a beautiful spouse. Venus in Pisces also gives a caring lover. Your volume went out. Oh, man. Okay, it's back. It's out. Oh, hold on. Let me check my mic. Thank you for letting me know that. That's probably why some of you left. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Ina and Bash? Yeah, Moon in Venus in Taurus is trine Venus or Moon in Virgo. I have my moons in Virgo. So, can you hear me? I just want to make sure it's not wasting my breath. But here's the thing I want to say in the most tactful way. Venus in Taurus isn't going to do this, because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So Taurus loves beauty and money and all of the good earthly things. But men with their Venus in Virgo, it's still similar to a Venus in Taurus, but it's at detriment. So these are the type of men, it's tricky because on the one hand, it's kind of a good quality about them. Kind of like I was saying about my ex-husband, whose Venus is in Sagittarius, and he's a Capricorn, so I don't know where this comes from, but he doesn't date based on superficiality. So, and I've seen this because like his second wife, not saying anything bad about her, she's really cute actually, but she has like something wrong with her. Let's say like a disability that a lot of men, like a Venus, not in Pisces because they're unconditional love, right? Even though they'll probably by default wouldn't end up in this position. But like, so I don't know what Venus, I don't even want to think about which Venus sign right now when I'm trying to say this, but so like my ex-husband's second wife had a flaw that like even me with my Venus in Pisces, I'm not a man, I'm a woman, but I would probably like if I met a guy that had something similar, and I'm so unconditionally loving. Like if I love someone, it doesn't matter if my friend, okay. So one of my good friends, I reconnected with, his moon's in Libra. He was saying like, I'm sorry, I'm really shallow. He said to me, we've been hanging out lately. He's like, I'm really shallow. He's like, and his Venus is in Virgo and he's a Taurus. Now his Venus is in Libra and I don't know where his Venus is, guys. His moon is in Libra and he's a Taurus. He says to me, I can't remember his rising too because I did get his birth time. He goes, I'm very shallow. He goes, I will leave you if you lose a leg. Like I will leave someone. You're on your own. I'm like, man, that's messed up, you know? Like a Venus and Pisces man probably wouldn't leave you, but by default, they just like attract such a high vibe that they kind of just end up with the perfect woman. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying you're not perfect if you have any sort of disability, but what I'm trying to say is my ex-husband, I know, looked past this. His Venus is in Sagittarius. He looks past those kind of things. Because I kind of being the bitter ex-wife at the time, because well, not anymore. I don't care anymore. But I was like, oh, I can't believe you'd go for that. And he, you know, and he's like, I don't look at things like that, you know. But if, say, you're really, this is like the weird part that I'm trying to figure out. Like, say you feel like you need to lose 100 pounds. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with like being overweight or anything. I just know for me personally, like I've spent my whole life battling my weight and getting it in balance. So now when I finally felt confident and really healthy at my weight, which goes up and down, and you really can't tell with me, I have like a 20-pound variance. And it's not till like I get to the top that people are like, wow, you really put some weight on. Or I get to the bottom of the 20 pounds and they're like, are you on drugs? You know? So for me, there's like 10 pounds in between where I look pretty much the same. But you know, it's the way clothes fit and I feel comfortable. You know, I finally got control over that in the last like 3 or 4 years. I've always had some control, but I've been able to really just maintain. And so I meet this Venus in Virgo, and it's just like, I wasn't insecure about myself at all, but he's like, I like big girls. And I like, he likes big girls and he likes lesbians and like all this stuff. So to me, it's like, okay, if you're, but then he was playing on my insecurities. Now he could be somewhat of a narcissist or whatever. And some people do think like, you know, some of my clients have dealt with, and it was in an Aries group on Facebook, like men with their sun in Virgo they think that more of those people might land in the group of narcissists. But I get along really well with Virgo sun, male or female. So my moon's in Virgo. So anyways, so I'm trying to say this in a really nice way. That's why I'm dancing around it. But because Venus is at detriment in Virgo, those men don't really recognize value in a woman. So they will kind of, like the term, like they will go for very, let's just say like a Venus in Pisces man, even though he's very unconditionally loving and would accept anyone, a Venus in Pisces man wouldn't even like ever resonate with. Like they wouldn't, it's not that like if they passed these women on the street that they would snub them. It's just like they wouldn't see them. So basically I'm trying to say like, if you feel like life's really beat you up and you feel like, you know, you're not very attractive, like say you feel like you're a 2 on the scale, it's a weird thing because if you date a Venus in Virgo, they're going to make you feel insecure, a man, whether you're a 2 or a 10, because they're in detriment and they really can't recognize value. And then they're in pentacles. So but if you're like maybe a 5, a Venus in Virgo might think you're even better than a 10. So I don't know. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say with that. So the way that Venus in Pisces men will naturally get just the most beautiful woman. They might get their heart broken. They might get a few women that kind of use them or lie to them because they will attract very beautiful women. Men with their Taurus or with their Venus in Taurus and Pisces are, and even Libra, are going to naturally attract very beautiful women. But Venus in Taurus is stubborn enough and discerning enough, and Libra is very discerning, like kind of like Gemini. Well, Libra has a hard time making up their mind. But anyway, so by default, a Venus and Pisces man is eventually going to end up with this gorgeous woman, and a Venus and Virgo man isn't going to be able to tell a 2 from a 10, is what I'm trying to say. Like he could have a 10 or an 8 or a beautiful, loving, kind woman like a Venus and Pisces and still like go and blow it to go screw around with a 2 because he feels like he's a 7, or they don't know value. And then everybody will be looking at them like, seriously, you picked. So it's like this Leo I dated when I was a teenager. We were good friends too. We ended up dating for like a second. He goes, you know what's funny about when people cheat? They always cheat with someone that's uglier. Like I don't know if that's true, but maybe not if they actually end up leaving the person. This new light is dimming. So I'm going to read why Nine Bash is saying, and then we're going to go back to sort of the bullet points. You're good. You was given gems, and it sounded like you was underwater. Yeah, Pisces and Mercury. That's what I'm saying. All right, Pisces and Mercury. So yesterday, that was another thing I wanted to come on here and correct. Let me just fix this light really quick. This new one I got. So, yeah, it's like my Uranus, not my Uranus is square my Mercury. My Mercury's in Pisces. Sometimes I'm like very. Here, let me just pull the mic out. I'll just pull it out so it's not in my sweater. There, is that better? Yeah, so your Mercury's opposite my Mercury, but I still like the axis of Pisces and Virgo. It's just with Venus, it gets a little tricky. Even though I like Venus oppositions, it's like with the moon, it's great. Mercury, I mean, we might like to sit there and kind of, a lot of these Virgo energies I'm talking about, like sun and stuff, they're Mercury's in Virgo because Mercury's usually close to the sun. So, we're not going to agree on everything, but most Mercury and Virgos that I dated were male, and they don't believe in astrology at all. So you're obviously a little bit different. Your energy is very pure. I'd love for you to give me a reading. Yeah, if you go to rotation411.com, that's where all of my personal readings are listed. There's tarot, astrology, if you want me to do your birth chart. I think there's tabs. So there's like the tarot tab, the astrology tab. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, my moon is in Virgo. So that's where I get all this, in the 12th house, all these analytical facts. I think you left me now, Einstein Bash. Hopefully you'll come back. Anyways, so now I don't know if the sound is good. I'm a little all over the place today. Like I said, I didn't sleep very well. But anyway, so Venus is in detriment, Venus in Pisces attracts by default. Okay, so Venus, so everyone thinks they want, oh, weird, it's telling me, okay, so, everyone thinks they want unconditional love is what I'm trying to say, but at the end, and that they're not after, so it's a balance between like practicality and certainty and unconditional love. Men don't want gold diggers, but they really do need a woman that can navigate things like a budget or finances. Like if you're a really, really wealthy man and you can pay for everything, you want a woman that knows how to dress well and value clothes. So, if you're a really, really wealthy man and you marry a Venus in Pisces, Pisces does know value too, actually really well. So that's kind of a weird comparison. But if you get with like a really homely woman and you're really wealthy, like Cinderella or something, everybody else is going to have to dress her. But if you married a Venus in Virgo, or Taurus, even though they might, especially Capricorn, be after you for your money or because of the security of your money, let's say, she's going to know what to do with the money. She's going to know how to shop and buy nice things and pull it off and not be faking it till she makes it. She's not going to be like I don't want to say Cinderella, but it reminds me more like Clueless, Brittany Murphy's character. She's not going to be one of those. It's like you're going to be marrying like Cher. All right? One second. And she's going to know how to spend your money. She's going to know how to dress to impress. Okay, cool. I think it's just because I had it like hidden, but you guys can see it. No big deal. So, I mean, this was just something I wrote, but Mars conjunct Venus, I might have thrown this out here before, but oftentimes, because I saw it some other way that's similar, so I'm just going to say it. Maybe it'll come back to me. It's interesting because a lot of these romance aspects that we see that I say are the best. So the Love at First Sight video I dropped yesterday, and there's a part 2 that's just me going over this study, and it's really meticulous. And I was trying to upload it. I'll be doing it by 6 p.m. right now. It's reprocessing because I had like a 55 gigabyte file, so I just compressed it to 2 gigabytes. So it should be able to upload now. It was taking all day. I'm like, why is this taking forever? Because that's why I never had uploaded the Love at First Sight video like a year ago, is because there was a part 2 and I never edited it together. So I was up late last night editing that together, and it's a bigger file because I had to put the study next to me talking so that you guys could follow along. And for some of you, it's going to be the the most boring thing that you've ever seen. So, watch part 1 and then you could peek at part 2. I don't blame you if you don't like it, but some of you might really dig it. So, if you're really into kind of like the data nerdy part of astrology. And some of you might be really smart where you're just like, oh my gosh, she just like, it's like a toddler explaining rocket science to me. And that was the other thing, is in that second video, since I already recorded it and edited it and everything, I kept saying statistician. It's called an analyst, but I guess I didn't know that a year ago. So anyways, this came to me because I saw it some other way, but oftentimes, Venus conjunct Mars, because I talk about that a lot in the Love at First Sight video, which again just dropped yesterday, and I'll link it below when I get around to it. I shot it a year ago. Venus conjunct Mars, I also see very often that the sun, like a sun, the sun and the moon. No, like daughter and son, like a son of a parent. They will be Venus to either a mother or father. So the mother, I've seen where the mother is Mars and where the father is Mars and the son is Venus. And, oh man, I'm like, okay. So I know an actor, let's say, that's in a indie film on Hulu, and it's called Venus is a Boy or something like that. And so it's just funny that when I was kind of coming across that movie, being on Hulu and getting to see it because I'd heard about it prior when they were making it and everything, I was like, weird, because I just discovered that Venus as a boy is a boy in the chart of his parents. I've seen that twice now, very significantly. And when the father was Mars, which makes sense, right? Because Mars is masculine, but then Venus is feminine. So maybe they were meant to be a girl. I don't know, but or their feminine side is cultivated by that particular parent. But it's weird because with the mother-son duo that I know, the son is closer, he's much closer to he's pretty close to his father too, but his mother rules his life. Actually his Mars is conjunct his father's moon though. It's interesting. So his feminine planet is conjunct his mother's Mars, and his Mars, his masculine planet, is conjunct to some degree his father's moon. Just thought of that. So you will find these contacts between parents and children often. Like you'll see, even when I'm just reading threads online, their ascendants and everything align. Oh, I know where I'm going to go with this now. And then the other example was Venus as the sun. His father was Mars, which makes sense more, but maybe he's meant to be a girl. I don't know, but he is a Pisces, so maybe he just has more. He's actually triple water sign, Scorpio rising. So maybe he just has that feminine energy. But his father was a Pisces too. But I believe his father's Mars was in, no, it's in Aquarius, conjunct his Venus. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So it's weird. So Venus can be a sun. So that's kind of like when we predict children. Like if you come to me like, how many children am I going to have? And I'm looking at your fifth house and I'm like, your fifth house is empty. So it's going to be whoever you have children with overlays into your fifth house, most likely. But if we were to go look at one of these parents' actual house system, which I do have the one mother's info somewhere, so I could probably do that. You're going to see like, okay, if Venus is in her fifth house, you might predict, oh, she's going to have a girl, but her first son was a boy, and his Venus is conjunct her Mars. So something that I'm digging into more and more. So if you guys have any, connections like that, please do please do share. But let's see. So and then I kind of want to just touch on this, and this reminds me of something else. So malefic deal breakers in parental, like parent-child synastry. I do have one client who comes to me because she's dealing with her mother aging and taking care of her, and she's miserable. And they do have some tough aspects like that. But I do feel like if it's familial, especially parent-child, and there's these sort of malefic deal breakers, that doesn't mean that they have the worst relationship. It may not be the easiest, but it doesn't mean like they're going to be disowned from each other, or they might at certain periods of time. But it's something, so it's like if you go see that you have Pluto square Saturn with your parent, that doesn't, like your parents could have been divorced and they could have had that in their chart, and then you're the child of that and you could see that there. So it doesn't mean like you should disown your parents. It just means that if there's certain ways you feel that your parents might have oppressed you or might not work in your best interest, even though maybe they do a lot of great things and help you, it's just be aware of it. Helps you balance. Okay, yes, they may in their heart, in their intentions, have the best of, love me and have the best of intentions and have my back in certain ways, but it's kind of like knowing how you can and can't trust people. So if you have a malefic deal breaker with parents and you're an adult, be aware of that. Like, don't take everything they say as gospel, even if they have your best interest at heart. Because they could be undermining you in their own ways just by their own influence. So, really be discerning with how they're influencing you if you have some hard aspect like that with your parents. I just want to throw that out there. But it doesn't mean like they hate you or you're going to get divorced from your parents, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe just creating the right amount of healthy distance. When I said low vibe, I didn't mean like beneath. Okay, when I said low vibe yesterday about Virgo and Venus, I didn't mean beneath, but more worldly or lust than love and spirituality. Okay, so I'm kind of wrap it up here. This is the last note. Two things. So my aunt's boyfriend was saying, oh, the reason that men don't take her seriously is because she's always rambling on about astrology, and men don't want to hear that because it's so cliche, right? Because it's such pop culture. And honestly, when Neptune leaves Pisces in a few years, there may not be such an interest in astrology anymore. I watch sometimes TikToks. I don't really use TikTok, but I see astrologists giving wrong information a lot. On YouTube, not so much. They're pretty accurate. I follow a lot of astrologists on here. But anyways, my aunt says to him, she's got a Virgo moon like me. She's a Taurus sun. She's a twin too. So our moons are conjunct. So I think she likes me even more than my mother does, because my mother, has a masculine moon, and my aunt has her moon conjunct mine. But my aunt's boyfriend goes, oh, men just hear her babbling on about astrology, and that's why they think, whatever, kind of like I was saying yesterday. And my aunt goes, she's been doing that since she was a child, and my aunt is kind of very judgmental. And she's the most loving person you'll ever know. I've seen her give CPR to a deer, like a baby deer before. She has like a zoo at her house, but she's the type of person that like, she'd be the first one to say, oh, this person's wacko. Like she believes in God and is not the most religious person, but it would be easy for her to write that off. But she knows that this is something that was just gifted to me. Like just seeing me come up as a little tyke, even with my really Catholic grandparents, like it was just something that was cultivated and inherent in me about astrology. So it's not that I'm just jumping on the bandwagon of pop culture. Once Neptune goes into Aries, ooh, that'll be good for me too, because I have a lot of Aries. So I'll still be able to give you guys tarot readings and be really in tune, even when it leaves all my Pisces planets. But yeah, I mean, once pop culture is in it, maybe when it goes into Aries, because Neptune in Pisces is like spirituality, I'll still be here in doing it. Okay, so last thing I want to just sort of talk about is the 27 Club and the North Node return. So I need to go put a title on this now and summarize all the topics, which I usually do. But so remember how like one of the first days I told you guys that I kind of lost, so I did an hour of North Node return, and I talked a little bit about what it was with me and the semi-sextiles, and then I talked a little bit about yesterday, I think, or the day before, about what it means for like the actors union and unions and all these organizations. But another thing I lost when that hour video got dropped is Marilyn Monroe and my friend. So my friend I was talking to, I mentioned him the other day, can't remember the context, and because he'll listen to me ramble on about astrology a lot, but that's why I need to get on here and be live more, so I'm not just making him a master astrologist for no reason. But he helps me. You know, I was dating a Libra moon, and he's like, what's his moon sign? What's his moon sign? Because he already thinks that as an Aries sun, I should be never dating feminine suns, but I told you guys, the suns to me I don't think it matters. I see a lot of Scorpio, and I see a lot of masculine feminine suns married to each other. It's only in the moons. So right before I get into this, one of you that's been following me, that's been commenting a lot, and I've been replying, and I can't think of your username off the top of my head, but you said that your parents were married. On one of my videos last night, you said your parents were married for 41 years, and they had, one second. Okay, and they had a Mars square Saturn, and you said, you know, they're kind of miserable. So I said, go watch the Ike and Tina Turner video, and I can't remember if I did it at the end or part 2, but I went back. I think somebody commented, and I went back, and I don't know where the video is, but I'll dig it up. I did her second husband, now I can't think of his name, who she was with forever too, and it was crazy because her second husband and Ike both had their Mars squaring her Mars, but I think actually it was conjunct. Anyway, I would check that one out, because I think that's the one Mars square Saturn that I've seen, and it took her forever to actually marry her second husband, and it was almost because he had these similar Saturn and Mars, exact same, almost not the exact same degree, but contacts with her Mars as Ike. So that marriage, it was like, when you're dealing with Mars square Saturn, because this is my good friend, I'm going to get into about the North Node return in a second, about what I figured out about his North Node return. And, you know, if you ever watch this, my dear friend, I've already said this to him a million times, but like, we have Mars square Saturn. So he's like, he's holding out hope that, you know, someday we'll get married, because he's a good friend to me. We're great friends. We could talk for hours. But I'm like, listen, buddy, we've known each other for a decade. If we were ever going to get married, it would already happen. I'm just not interested in you like that, you know? And he just never gives up hope, which is kind of flattering and beautiful. And I mean, I couldn't imagine my life without him. And he says, you know, even if I marry someone else and everything, that he'll still be my friend and in my life. But I think he slightly plants little seeds and undermines me really being with anyone else too. But not really in a malicious way. So like I gave this guy a chance, like I gave him a chance, and he really screwed up with me. So I put my foot down, because it was ridiculous. I'm not going to go into the story right now. I'm sure I've mentioned it in other videos. It's like Mercury square Neptune or whatever. And then for a year, this man groveled. Like, he would leave chocolates on my car and love notes and yada yada, which kind of sounds creepy now. But he just worked really, really, really hard to get back in my good graces. And then as soon as I gave him a shot, like, you know, the games began. Because this is just my chart, you guys. Rahu by Jupiter is I was telling a client this the other day. She has Venus-Mars conjunction with Rahu in the middle. She's like, why do I attract all these, like, you know, because Rahu tends to imitate the planets that he's next to. So if you have a really good Jupiter or a really good Venus-Mars conjunction, because Venus-Mars conjunction is if you have that in your birth chart in Vedic astrology, it means you'll have a love marriage. So with Rahu smack dab in the middle for her, I'm like, a lot of snakes are going to imitate your Venus-Mars conjunction spouse. So she's having a hard time discerning, what's what. Same with me with Jupiter, like in Rahu. I attract a lot because Jupiter and Rahu are expansion in my seventh house. I attract a lot of partners. Seventh house is partners. A lot of potentials. But a lot of them are snakes, like my sister likes to say. She says it. She says, oh, he's a snake. I don't say. I'm like, that's Rahu next to my Jupiter deceiving me because Rahu's like imitates the planets that he's next to. So it's hard for me to see the real Jupiter, So anyways, I got way off on this. So, Mars square Saturn, he just drives me crazy, but he won't go away. Oh, so what he did, this little story, which hopefully I don't lose battery here. This guy, I finally gave this guy a chance, and then he screwed up one day, and he like made up this crazy lie that like he went to the vet, and I don't know, he's in the industry in Hollywood, so maybe he had like some NDA signed and he really couldn't tell me where he was that day, but he made up this whole story how he was at the vet all day and how horrible it was and how his dog was sick, and victim narcissist 101. So I run, I'm like, okay, and he does so much for me at the time, so I run over finally. I like sit there for an hour, like I don't want to be intrusive, but I'm like, I love that dog, I help with that dog. I'm like, okay, what vet hospital is it? And he's like, oh, why do you want to know? What? It's the one down the street. So I go over there to bring him Pop-Tarts because he had bought me the Costco box of Pop-Tarts, and I get there and he's not there. He was BSing me. Mercury square Neptune. So I was like, okay, so then I was upset for a few days. Where were you? If we're really working towards marriage, show me the vet receipt. Because he's like, I'll show you the receipt. I'll show you the receipt. I'm like, okay, do it. That's what husbands and wives do. They're transparent with each other. If we're married, which is what we were working towards, according to him, even though he wouldn't introduce me to his mother and certain little things like that. But he was working really hard besides that. He goes, so I kind of got over it though, after like a week of like pouting and begging him to tell me the truth and accusing him of being a liar. He kept, doing all these nice things for me, so I got over it. And about 3 weeks later, my friend who I have Mars square Saturn with goes, yeah, but what about the vet thing? And I just lost it. I ended everything. I was done for good. I was just done. So I was like, yeah, that's going to eat at me for the rest of my life. And it's funny, whenever I meet a new man and we have this beautiful beginning, I'm like, listen, the reason that I got divorced, which I never wanted to be, was because I don't want to have resentments. So when you start a new relationship, you have the opportunity to write a beautiful love story, a beautiful new history with someone. So if you're going to play these games and sit here and make me wonder for the next 25 years what happened on April 17th of 2023 when you said you were at the vet and never showed me the receipt, I'm not going to live like that. If I was going to live like that, I wouldn't have divorced the first husband, because I would have had a lot of needs met that you're not meeting and no one has met since, even though I had to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So no, I'm not going to do it. That's my non-negotiable, right? You're not meeting my needs and you're BSing me and giving me resentments to live with for the rest of my life. No, thank you. My ex-husband met my needs. He just gave me a bunch of resentments that I didn't want to live with. So, I would have stuck with that if I was going to deal with those kind of resentments. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, so my friend, this Mars square Saturn one that drives me nuts, but I love him to death, but I'll never marry him. He's never actually formally proposed, but I'm sure if I gave him the green light. Anyway, I think he knows better. He knows I won't say yes to him. But anyways, he's twice my age, okay? It's a great guy, and I hope, he's actually in the database, you guys, by the way, so he is a really good guy. So if you're, and you're, I might have made him sound like a jerk because he's after me, but he is a really good person. So, and he goes out and he meets women because he's very social. He's a Libra, and he's like running their chart and finding their moon, and anyways, so I would recommend him if you don't have Mars square Saturn with him and you're closer to his age, like you're 57 or something, and you're gorgeous. He actually has another good friend. She's married and they have really good astrology. I'm like, he's like, well, she kind of liked me when we first started dating, but then I wasn't really interested in her, and then she got married. And he's like, no, I don't think I could marry her, but they get along so well. They even go on. So he's sort of like my plus one if I need one, or he takes me to cool things. But they even go to like this gala every year together, even though she's married. But it's like in a friendly way because they're in the same industry. They help each other, like wingmen and women. So I'm like, you probably actually should have married her. But anyways, so if you want to go live in the heart of LA and be in the industry, and you have your moon in a water sign, submit to the database, okay? Anyways, so one day I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about Marilyn Monroe. And she died at the age of 36, because this is kind of, I have my notes. I have North Node return in 27 club. So when I'm saying in the first couple of videos, I was talking about North Node for the collective and North Node for me. I'm talking about North Node, just sort of what happens when the North Node returns in people's lives, an example. So my theory about the 27 club, this will get back to my friend that I'm talking about, and I'm losing battery here. So I have a theory about the 27 club, and maybe we'll just dig into it on a live one day, but I have to go kind of actually research all these charts first. So I'm not going to do that live, because then I'm like, it's going to be a huge mess. So I have to like actually, like reading a book, take a few hours and do this. But I have a theory about the 27 club, and I actually realized, I think Tupac, correct me if I'm wrong, was like 26 when he died. Could have been 24 or 25. I'm pretty sure he was 26. So I think this may even apply to Tupac. So I'm even going to include him in the group of the 27 club when I do this. But I have a theory about Saturn in the 27 club, that their Saturn is like either very weak or very strong, or like very strong but unsupported. So that's why I have to go look at the charts and see what's going on, because Saturn deals with career and longevity. So it's almost like those theories, and I think this is probably what made it click for me, where they say like, oh, those people sold their soul and that's why they died at 27. Or their Saturn was like really strong in a certain way and gave them this massive career success, but was completely unsupported. And so the bottom fell out from under them when they had their Saturn return, and they had no longevity in life. Okay. Or Pluto could be aspected, like square to Saturn, and that's why they died when they had their Saturn return, regardless of like a well aspected or maybe their Saturn was exalted, which I believe is going to be happening I think it's going to be happening in Libra. I think Saturn is exalted in Libra. But I could be wrong about that. I could Google it real quick. My battery on my phone is dying. Excuses. What sign is Saturn exalted in? Pretty sure it's Libra. Libra. Okay, yeah. I figured, okay, I could tell you guys how I figured that out, but my battery's going to die. So tomorrow, I'll make a note that tomorrow I will tell you how you could kind of tell where a planet's exalted or in detriment. If you guys want to know that, let me know. But I want to wrap this up before the battery dies on my phone. So anyways, so my buddy, I go, oh, Marilyn Monroe died at 36. So maybe kind of what's going on with Saturn with the 27 club was happening with her North Node, because that was her North Node return, or even her Jupiter, which is interesting because her Jupiter was in her 7th house, I believe, or something similar to mine, and she married a screenwriter and a pro baseball player, and I dated a prominent screenwriter and a minor league baseball player, so I don't know. But anyways, before I even realized her and I had that Jupiter commonality, so Jupiter in the 7th house, it is good if you want to go with someone with high status. But anyways, so then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about Marilyn Monroe, and I'm saying this to him, and I go, wait a minute, when did you move from Florida to Hollywood and get into the Directors Guild? And I go, were you 36? Because I was just going on this tangent about Marilyn Monroe and how it might be like this, and he goes, oh my God, I think I was. And then he had the certificate on his wall, and we went and looked at it, and guess what? It said it right there. So I actually need to get that date from him and run it against his birth chart just to kind of see the specifics. But I think I did like look it up really quick, and it was literally like, I don't want to say it's the day, you guys, but I think it was like, because the day was on there, and we looked up when I got to ask him because he'll remember, because he actually does remember these things. So, okay, so rewind like I like to do now, like backwards really quick. So whatever whichever one of you that was asking me about your parents that were married 41 years with the Mars square Saturn thing, which I'll clean up tomorrow. You said your parents' moons were neighboring signs. Your moon was in Pisces and your father's was Aquarius, I believe, and that kind of proves that dignity theory. But I asked her to get back to me in the comments, and if you're watching this, or maybe you can do it here, but I would love to know what degree that was happening in, because if this is indeed true, and this couple that I met that was married 50 years, if they're not a semi-sextile somehow and they are an out-of-sign conjunction, then I am starting to get a little bit of buzz that out-of-sign conjunctions might actually have worked in some of these longer marriages. But I'm not seeing them working when my clients are coming to me, because when my clients are coming to me and their moons are close together in neighboring signs, and then I clarify. So like, say they come to me like, this is my twin flame and everything's going really good, but I just want to know what's in the future for us, and I kind of just want that reassurance. Usually I'm like, okay, let me confirm they look like they're in neighboring signs, and I confirm and they're in the same sign and they're on the right track and they're fine. And if they come to me again, it's for career advice or something, you know? And normally when they come to me and they're just like, I don't get it, like strong pull, it's not working, it's been on and off for 4 years, he seems scared, he seems overwhelmed, usually it's in neighboring signs. So especially with today, with all the pressure and all the false programming of people, and